So I'm currently training as an engineering cadet. I always knew I wanted to do engineering, but I wasn't quite sure what career path I wanted to take. So after a bit of research, I came across a career in the Merchant Navy. So I didn't want to do the traditional university route. I knew I wanted to travel and I knew I wanted to be hands-on with the job that I was training for. So if you combine all these together, the Merchant Navy was the perfect candidate for all these things. Currently, I've only served on one vessel, and she was the Disney Dream, owned by Disney Cruise Line. She's a passenger ship and operated between Port Canaveral, Nassau, which is a Bohemian island, and Castaway Cay, which is Disney's own private island. So she's quite a large ship. She's around 130,000 gross tons, and a total capacity, that's crew and passengers, of are around, I think it was just under 5,500. So very large and lots of new things to learn. My first experience was a cycle of events. It was nervous to excitement to nervous again, and I think that's quite common from my other colleagues that I've spoken to. So I can distinctly remember the first time that I pulled up to the port and I saw the vessel that I was joining, and I think you have an idea of how large the ships are in your head, but then when you see them and you're actually about to board and step foot on it for the first time, it's a very, very different experience. And then again, the first time you go into the engine room and you see this maze of machinery and plant and pipe works and everything's going on, it's quite daunting. You think to yourself, how am I supposed to learn all of this? How am I supposed to be able to comprehend it and understand it? The engineers are all wandering around and they know the place like the back of their hand. Logistically, not only talking about a sense of how everything works, but then again, you're filled with that excitement that you're excited to learn about these things and develop your understanding that eventually you too will be able to have this depth of knowledge about everything that's there. So it really is a cycle of events. I would have to say that that's when I received the call from my training company to say that I'd been selected to be sponsored by Disney. And that for me was just such a massive achievement because not only are they one of the most recognisable brands in the world, but it was a very hard selection process and I spent a lot of time trying to revise and prep and get ready for it. And then there was multiple stages and I was competing directly with other candidates to get in. And on top of that, they were only taking in 2 cadets for engine, electrical and deck every phase. So it was quite a hard process. And then to hear that I got it and my hard work paid off was really satisfying. I remember being completely overwhelmed with excitement and I couldn't wait to start the next part of my training. So there's definitely one skill that stands out for me and that's communication. It can be very hard to communicate sometimes with all the different nationalities on board. So the Disney Dream that I served on had around over 60 nationalities at one time. So most of these didn't have English as their first language, it was a secondary language. So when it was trying to communicate with them and ask them technical questions about equipment on board, there wasn't always brilliant understanding. So sometimes you have to take a step back and think about how can I explain this differently. Maybe can I point something, can I use gestures to kind of explain my point. And there's also the factor of when to ask things. So if you're in the engine room, it's not always appropriate to ask someone something if you stood right next to a main engine, because it's hard to hear anything. But then maybe if you hold on to your question and ask it later, then it'd be much more suitable. Another thing is knowing when to listen, because it's all right asking loads and loads of questions, but sometimes if you just sit back and give someone time to explain everything they want to say, they'll give you a lot more information than you originally asked for, which is brilliant. So I would say communication is the main skill that I've learned on board. And I would just tell them to go for it. I tell them not to be worried about the challenges that they have to face. It is quite different to normal life on land. It's a very diverse career path and yes, there are challenges associated, but everybody out there is wanting to help you. Everybody has been through these challenges and people want to see you succeed. So go for it, because everything that you're going to do is going to be hard. You should choose something that you're passionate about and something that will give you a reward, like the Merchant Navy. Thank you.